Wolverine and Kojima stole the show. Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. Kojima and Wolverine definitely stole the show. Let's start off with Wolverine. Wolverine was a great trailer, man. If you're a Wolverine fan, there was a lot of Wolverine DNA in there. Definitely whoever is working on this really dived into the comics for a lot of the lore, for a lot of the looks, for a lot of the action. You know, they had me at claws going through skull. Right? However, there wasn't a lot of gameplay there, right? But it was a great trailer. It did its job. The job of the trailer is to get you hyped up for the game. And that it really did. It did an amazing job at doing that. Everybody's talking about it. For me, it's going to be a day one order to see what the game is like. Right? I'm a Wolverine fan. I'm an X-Men fan. I'm definitely going to buy the game day one. Now, is it going to be a system seller? You know, I think if you're a Marvel person, if you're a comic book collector, maybe it would. You know, I could see people going out there at least buying the digital version of the PS5, even with a little bit higher price, to play this game. But it did all the things right? It had a couple of the best characters out there. You know, you had Mystique, we had Omega Red, you had a lot of Easter eggs there. I mean, it did the job that it was supposed to do, right? Getting people excited. So, you know, it's a game that was rumored to have a little bit of Sweet Baby involvement, but I believe they got fired. I don't follow that stuff closely, even though I don't agree with that company's, politics whatsoever. But hopefully they stay true to the character and start, just shine away from all that political stuff, because it's video games. It should be just about having fun. But needless to say, it's definitely one thing that you can see where PlayStation is different from Xbox, for example. Right? You have a game like this, the single player experience where people are just going, wow, I can't wait to play that. There's very few moments like that in Xbox, right? And then now that they're selling it to everybody, right? It just loses the flavor. I mean, that's what you do. But what do you do? I mean, I don't know who's running Xbox. To me, they're just doing all the wrong moves, raising prices, putting their games, in places probably they shouldn't be if they're going to keep on making consoles. But, to me, they just want to be software developers at the end. The influence from the Microsoft Corporation on Xbox has really ruined the brand, right? And that should be a whole another video. Nonetheless, Wolverine did his job. Everybody's excited. The marketing's great. That's how you do marketing. Now, the other winner was Hideo Kojima. To me, right? These are my personal opinion, guys. I'm not sponsored. I'm not affiliated with these companies. It's just you and I talking. You might have different points of view, right? But I'm just telling you what my preferences are as a Gen X gamer, as the old guard, right? As the previous generation. I thought Hideo Kojima did a great job, as the innovator that he is, as the brand that he is now. As the person who stepped away from profit-driven gaming in order to keep on creating art. Hopefully it is my hope that he inspires other, young game directors out there that maybe are working for a Microsoft, that maybe are working for a PlayStation, for all these other big studios that are making games that we don't completely appreciate. Maybe make their bones there, make their money, and then branch on their own and just follow the path that this man's doing, because he's using real actors, right? He is truly a game director. He's a man who loved movies, who got into video games, and you could really see it in his work. Now, the OD trailer, I think to me, I think that game is going to be what PT should have been. I think it could be done, especially with a collaboration with Microsoft. You have resources up the wazoo, and this is something Microsoft wants to make happen, right? And it looks really good. It looks really, really good. And to me, what inspires me the most about his work is his use of actors. Right? When you have actors, when you have voice actors, when you have a script, right? When you bring in professionals, it just elevates the product. It just elevates the product because you're telling a better story, a more believable story, a more immersive story. And I think that's what could be done with OD. So hopefully, you know, it pans out. Regardless if it's experimental, whatever, that's another, you know, day one buy for me, right? So it's very rare that I see a news day where I see 3 games that I know that I'm going to buy day one, which is Wolverine, OD, and the last but not least is Fizzit. And let me tell you why. Because I believe in my heart of hearts that Fizzit is going to be the sequel to Snatcher. That's what I believe, right? In my heart of hearts. I think that's what he wants to do. I hope that's what he does. The trench coats. Hello, right? One of the most expensive games ever. But to me, the special point about this is that you could see what he created back then with the limitations of technology that he had back then, what he could do, and the storytelling that he could do now with actual actors, with scripts, with backing. I think that's going to be a blockbuster game, let me tell you. And if it is Snatcher 2, you know, that game's going to go bonkers. You know, if it's anything related to that. I hope it is. I really do hope that it is inspired by that it goes into that type of world, that it follows that story, because I think there's a lot to be told there. And like I said, with actors, with a script, with resources, you can do a lot of great things, guys. So, you know, we go from one video from being completely negative to a little bit of hope, right? A little bit of hope. You know, how are these games going to be delivered? You know, I mean, one's going to be on the Xbox, another on the PlayStation. Fizzit is another PlayStation game. Are they going to eventually make it to PC? You know, maybe, hopefully. I don't even know when we're going to get to play these games. You know, they say one date, but, you know, game development is a labor of love, right? And it takes a lot. There's, you know, you have to do reshoots, you have to do, you know, all kinds of things, and there's all kinds of problems along the way. So, you know, hopefully we'll get these games when they're scheduled to come out, but if we don't, especially for a Kojima game, I'll more than gladly wait. I just recently finished Death Stranding 2. What a journey. You know, another game breaker for him. It really well acted, I have to say that. And, you know, if I had to pick the two, believe it or not, even though the second one is easier to play, I'd rather play the first one just because of memory, you know, because I played that during COVID and it was so helpful at that time. But, you know, you don't have to play the first game to enjoy the second one, but I think you should play the first game to better enjoy the second one, to see the complete journey, right? That's just, I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything, but I think you should play both games. Regardless, guys, it was a good day for gaming yesterday. You know, a little bit hopeful. We saw some projects that I will follow, right? And the games that I will buy in the future. You know, will I buy them in a new console? Will I buy it in a PS6? Probably not. I'll wait for it to come out on PC. But they're definitely interesting propositions. Well, guys, tell me what you think. Guys, make sure that you share, like, subscribe, join, whatever you can do to help out the channel to get out of the shadow ban. YouTube just unbanned a bunch of people yesterday and then rebanned them again, which is a bunch of crap. You know, for that reason, whenever I return, guys, I don't know that I'll be streaming on this platform because it's so unforgiving. Look what they've done to my channel. I might have to, you know, choose a different platform to stream. That way I can touch on broader subjects, you know, and touch about the things that we really want to talk about sometimes with these game developers, which is a completely different genre, you know, from the channel probably. And, you know, just keep things separate. But so far, so good, guys. This is a finals week for me. It's my second to last class, so I'm going to be really busy. I don't know how many videos I can make. I'll probably make more shorts and videos. But please, whatever you can do, like, subscribe, share, join the channel, whatever you can do, go ahead and do that. And I really, really thank you for tuning in. I will catch you on the next one. Take care.
Videos every Monday and Sunday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Gen X Gamer. Remember to like and subscribe, click that notification bell, and remember, never ever be afraid to be happy. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.